make that accountability count and make sure that that person knows that they're going to call you out on your stuff, because that's what we all need. Keep pushing forward, set your goals, and you can achieve them. Do you wake up in the middle of the night with your heart beating out of your chest? You come to that realization that you're not where you want to be? Well, you're not alone. A vast majority of people feel that way. I believe it's mostly tied to not being able to achieve goals, but not in the way that you think. In today's episode, you're going to walk away with a better understanding of why goals aren't achieved, a framework of how you can set yourself up to achieve goals, and most importantly, how to keep yourself accountable for the goals that you set. Let's get into it. So, why do we fall short when it comes to goal setting? I'll tell you what, talk is cheap, right? It's one thing to sit there and talk about wanting to do something over and over and over again, and it's very different in actually doing it. So I know a lot of people get discouraged when people go, well, you can't do that, or yeah, okay, we'll see. All right, so what? So what? What if people come up to you and, give you that little negative reinforcement and tell you you're not going to get there? So, but I'm going to say that, there is a valid point when you say something out loud and then you don't actually set yourself up for success. So think about this. For example, right? I've talked about this before. I said I wanted to lose 83 pounds. I had a very specific weight in mind. Let me give you some insight. I didn't deliver on that right off the bat. It took me a little while to figure out what I needed to do, because I was sitting there just yapping about it and saying that, I want to lose 83 pounds. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And people were like, oh, that's great. Oh, okay. Wow. That's a lot of weight. Right. So there was that element of, I was motivated to do it, but ultimately what I didn't have was an action plan. I didn't know how to do it. Right. It wasn't really that hard to think of one, but I'm talking about me, myself, and I, right? What was I going to do to be able to achieve this weight loss goal? So the bottom line was, if I didn't have a plan, no success. I failed multiple times because I wanted to lose weight. And in the end, I didn't achieve that goal until I put a plan together. So think about that. My weight loss journey, I talked about it. I tried a couple of times. I fell flat on my face. And then I realized I needed a plan. And that was going to get me to where I wanted to be, because everything that I said before that was just lack of discipline, because it was just all talk and there was no action plan to hold me to where I needed to be to get it done. So let's talk about framework. So framework can set yourself up for success, right? So we all know what a framework is. It's something simple. It's something that you actually put down on paper. So 2024 Harvard Business Review said that people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. Okay, well, maybe writing it down on paper doesn't work for you. Maybe you need to print it out and tape it to the mirror in the morning, or tape it on the refrigerator, or tape it in your car. I don't care where that is, but that might be something that you need to do just to remind yourself of what that goal is, right? So that's part of the framework, right? That reinforcement of what you want to achieve. Then what you need to do is figure out how to get there. So one of the things that I did is I knew that the biggest portion of weight loss was going to be diet. So I needed to find a diet that I could actually do and that I actually liked, because if I wasn't going to stick to the diet, it wasn't going to happen. So I chose keto. Why? Because it's all the foods that I like to eat. And if I could pick a diet that gave me access and allowed me to eat all of the foods that I like to eat, the level of success was going to be exponentially more, because I knew that I could stick to that diet. So that was step one. So I chose the diet. So I had to do some research, understand what that meant, right? Then how did I keep track of it? I got this carb manager app. It was perfect, right? Had all the foods that I were going to eat, right? I went so far as to even weigh those foods, because the idea was I needed to be able to measure what I was eating. So when those macros were set, right? Again, part of the framework for me to continue to lose weight, I needed to be able to see how I was tracking. The next thing was drink a gallon of water a day. right? I did a bunch of research. People talk about that. Having water was an essential part of this. And then lastly, I did interim fasting. I did 16-8, which basically meant that I started eating at 11 o'clock and I finished at 7 o'clock at night. And the idea is that I ate in that 8-hour window, right? That keto, and I tracked it to make sure that I hit all of the macro goals that I had on a daily basis. Believe it or not, became a very, very realistic daily regimen. And that's where the discipline came in, because I could do this over and over again. It didn't have to be the exact same thing, but to make it easier on myself and knowing who I am, I did. Like, there were a lot of times that I just ate the same foods throughout the day. And then if I had to go out and eat, then I would make a plan. I would figure out what I could order, and I would do my best to track the macros that I was eating in the app. Each day, something was being tracked, right? Each week, each month. I was able to see, right, these little successes because I was measuring, right, on a daily basis. So, give you an example. If I drank the gallon of water every day, and I was able to hit my metrics on all of my macros, right, that was a win. So when we talk about like winning, we need to win every day, every week, every month. But being able to set yourself up for success means that you have to have wins like on a daily basis. That way you don't get discouraged. So here's kind of the framework idea that it came with. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits. He talks about SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So in what I described to you on where I was, right, had all of those factors integrated in my framework. And by being able to do that and being able to track my progress a little bit each time gave me the will and the desire and the discipline to continue forward. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So use a framework for any goal that you set. Doesn't have to be weight loss. It could be, I want to grow my wealth. I want to grow my business. I want to do well professionally. It doesn't matter. If you break it down and have a framework and you be able to measure yourself each and every single day with a little bit of progress, you're going to hit your goal. So let's talk about the most important thing to achieving goals. It's accountability. If you don't have accountability, right, there's a strong possibility that you're not going to hit your goal. Why? Because if there's nothing to hold you accountable, how do you know that you're going to continue to do that, right? Every day, right? We're human beings. It's just the way that we're designed, right? So when we build this, so one of the things that I did in my weight loss journey is I had two other guys that we did this together. And the idea is that we would weigh ourselves. We would talk about, where our weight was once a week. We'd actually put it in the group text. And let me tell you what was great about that. It gave us the opportunity to see the weekly progress, and we could see the weekly progress of each other. So if we turned in our report and maybe we didn't lose as much weight, it was a great opportunity for people to say, okay, well, what do you think happened? Why do you think you didn't lose weight? It was a source of encouragement. But what was also amazing about it too? It was also competition. If you saw one of the people in the team, right, in the group that was losing a massive amount of weight, that was going to drive you harder to make sure you stuck to the routine. So this is why accountability is important. So you have that ability to have somebody else to tell you, right, and actually report to. So it's not just yourself, okay? So being able to talk with other people on the struggles of losing weight or, not hitting your goals, like, some of the other things, whatever it is professionally or personally, a lot of people, they utilize coaching, they have mastermind groups. Why do they do that, right? Because they have specific goals that they want to achieve. Maybe they have their framework, they've shared that to others, and now you have somebody to call you out on it. If you want, and maybe you don't have somebody in there that's willing to do this for you, you could always use AI. You can train AI, to hold you accountable. And maybe every morning you get up, and every week and every month you go in and you give it a report on what you were able to achieve. I'm just trying to think outside of the box here. So I don't want anybody to walk away from this episode thinking, okay, I don't have anybody in my life to hold you accountable. There are ways to get that, even if you don't have anybody specific that you can think of to be able to give you that accountability that you need so you can succeed. Let's recap, okay? So don't just talk about the goals that you want to set. If you don't have a plan, right, build a framework. The framework is the plan. It's the things that you do to be able to achieve your goals, right? And we're looking about micro movements, right? We're not talking about, you're not going to lose 83 pounds overnight. You're not going to lose 83 pounds in a day. It's not going to happen. Whatever it is that you're setting a goal for, make sure that you build that framework. You can actually beat yourself. Think about this, because in your own mind, right, we all have it. When I reference that time when you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel like you're not where you want to be, right? I mean, that exists, right? But to be able to combat that, put a framework together. Because if you can actually go back and think about each thing that you've accomplished on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, right? That's going to keep driving you forward. And most importantly, have accountability. Whatever that accountability for you is, just make it happen. Mastermind, friend, coach, AI, whatever it is. Make that accountability count and make sure that that person knows that they're going to call you out on your stuff, because that's what we all need. Keep pushing forward, set your goals, and you can achieve them. If you found this episode helpful, share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this topic. Leave a comment. If you're feeling generous today, rate the show. And I always encourage you to subscribe. You can find us on Hey Charles Biz on YouTube, Hey Charles 77 on Instagram and TikTok, Charles Ernst on LinkedIn, and Hey Charles on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Talk to you next time.